You ever start something that feels like it's about to change your entire life? And then somewhere in the middle, you just stop. Not because you're lazy. I know that's the first thing that comes to mind. You're not lazy, not because you don't care. And it's definitely not because you're not talented, but because something in you just completely shut off. And what's wild from the outside, people will look at you and think you just lost interest. They will think you were never serious. They may think you did not want it bad enough. They may think you were distracted, but only you know the full story. Only you. Because sometimes the truth is this: you really did want it. You did. You really did mean it. You prayed about it. You really did invest all your money into that something. You really did imagine yourself finishing it. You saw it. You saw the vision. And somehow you still stopped. Now, I don't want you to type anything in the comments just yet. I don't want you to explain it. I don't want you to even defend it. Don't judge yourself. Just think. What is something that you started and didn't finish? Maybe it was a business. Maybe it was a class. Maybe you came up with the perfect fitness plan. Maybe it was writing a book. Perhaps it was healing. Maybe it was getting your finances together. Maybe it was finally doing something just for you. But just hold it in your mind for a second, because that right there, that's the middle. That place between I'm excited and I'm done. That's where most people quit. That space right there is where momentum starts breaking. That is where doubt, in fact, gets louder. That is where excuses start sounding reasonable. That's where tired starts sounding like truth. That's exactly where delay starts looking permanent. And that is exactly where I almost quit too. Not once, not twice, more times than I care to admit. Because the beginning will have you feeling so powerful. The beginning will have you saying things like, "This is my season. This time I'm serious. I'm really doing it now. I'm not here to play no games." The beginning will make you feel brand new. See, you got your notebook, you grab supplies, you watch all the YouTube videos you could. You made the plan and you told yourself, this is it. This is it. I'm changing my life. But then life starts lifing. And suddenly, that thing that felt so inspiring inside of you starts feeling inconvenient. That thing that felt exciting starts feeling demanding. That thing that felt like purpose starts feeling like pressure. So now you're standing in the middle. and you're trying to figure out why something you cared about so much feels so hard to carry in that moment. That is what I want to talk about today. Not the beginning. See, everybody loves the beginning, not the end. Everybody wants to see those results at the end. I want to talk to you about standing in the middle, because the middle is where discipline gets tested. The middle is where identity gets exposed. The middle is where self talk matters. The middle is where people quietly disappear from their own dreams. And I want you to hear me when I say this. Just because you stopped does not mean you are done. Just because you pause does not mean that you failed. It doesn't. Just because it got too darn heavy to carry in that moment does not mean it was never meant for you. Sometimes you do not need a new dream. Sometimes you need a new way to carry those said dreams. So today, that is exactly what we're going to do. We are not just talking motivation. I love to motivate. We're not just talking about that though. We are not just saying push through. We are not pretending that life is easy because we know it's not. We are not also acting like you have this endless supply of energy. We are going to talk about what to do when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you want to be consistent, but real life keeps interrupting. When your mind wants the result, but your body and your emotions feel left behind. And before we go any further, I want you to take a breath for a second. Just 1, 2, 3. Because some of you have been hard on yourselves. Too hard, in fact. You have been calling yourself lazy when you're really feeling depleted. You have been calling yourself inconsistent when your system's just too heavy to carry anymore. You have been calling yourself unfocused when really you are trying to carry too much at one time. So today, I want to help you shake all of this off, or some of it off. It's up to you to choose. Because once shame gets out of the way, you can finally build again. You can build again. Yes, you can. So let me tell you where this hits me in real life. So at 45-ish, I decided I was going to start making soap. I decided I was going to make these beautiful bars. Not just think about it, not just say it because it sounded nice, not just save videos and talk about soap. I mean, I was really going to get in there and start making bars of soap. Yes, bars of soap. So I bought the oils, I bought the molds, the supplies, the ingredients. I grew most of the ingredients, but coconut oil, all that stuff I had to purchase. Everything was starting to fall into place. So when I tell you I was serious, I was serious. I was learning, I was reading, I was watching, I was teaching and testing, I was mixing, I was trying to understand what worked and what didn't work. And in the beginning, dang, it felt good. It felt fresh. It felt creative. It felt like possibility. Every batch felt like progress. Every batch, I kid you not, felt like progress. Every little improvement felt so encouraging. Every time I finished something, I felt proud. I patted myself on the back. I was showing up. I was consistent. I felt like I had it locked in and locked down. You know how it is when you first start something and it feels like it's just flowing naturally. You start imagining where you could go. You start seeing your future. You start thinking, this really could become something. This could actually work out in my favor. This, it could be mine. This could grow. This could bless people. This could bless me too. That beginning stage can be addictive because it's full of hope. You're optimistic about all the possibilities. And hope, it feels light. Hope feels clean. Hope is beautiful. But then the middle showed up. And each and every time the middle shows up, it hits different for different reasons. Because the middle does not care about your excitement. It doesn't. The middle starts asking, okay, but are you still showing up when it's not cute anymore? That's what the middle asks. Are you still committed when mistakes cost money? Are you still in it when the results do not match the effort that you put into it? Are you still willing to learn when what you made did not turn out right? And that is where it changed for me. Because things were not coming out right. Measurements had to be exact. Certain things could not be rushed. And mistakes cost time. Mistakes cost energy. And mistakes, more importantly, cost money. And that all mattered. Because when you're grown, you do not just have random time and random money to throw out and waste. You start feeling every mistake differently. So when you're younger, you might say, "Well, I'll just try again." But when you're a certain age or seasoned individual with other responsibilities and bills piling up and people depending on you, other priorities competing for your attention, a mistake hits hard. Now it's not just, oh well. Now it is, dang, that was money. Darn, that was time. Wow, that was energy. And I did not have that much of it to give. Wow, that was effort I had to squeeze into a full life that I already had. So slowly it stopped feeling exciting and it started feeling heavy. I need somebody to hear that because some of you think something is wrong with you because what you used what used to excite you now feels super, super heavy. But sometimes it's not that you don't care anymore. Sometimes you are simply in the part where dreams ask more of you. And nobody really prepares you for that particular part. They don't. Mm-mm. See, people celebrate your start, people clap when you finish, but very few people will teach you how to survive this drag in the middle. So there I was, still interested, still wanting to make these soaps and bombs, still knowing that I started it all for a reason in this season. But I was also tired, also discouraged, also irritated, also questioning myself daily. In fact, daily. And if you've ever had that moment where the voice shows up, it's a quiet voice. It's not dramatic, it's not loud. Sometimes you just hear a whisper. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you thought you could do more than you actually can. Maybe you should just leave it alone. Maybe this was too much, too fast, too soon. Maybe others can do it better. Mhm. Maybe others can do it better. Maybe you started something you don't have the energy to finish. Now, I did not say it out loud, but I felt all of those things. And if I'm being real and honest, I almost stopped several times. And not because I didn't like the idea of making homemade natural soaps, not because I'm not capable. I'm overqualified for everything, if you ask me. Not because I did not want the outcome, but I almost stopped because the middle started talking louder than the purpose I felt to do this business in that moment. And that happens. That happens in business. That happens with your health. That happens when you're healing in real time. That happens in creative work. That happens in your faith. That happens in relationships with yourself. That happens in every area where something takes time. See, when people talk about success, they love to tell that polished version of success. They say things like, just stay consistent, just keep going, don't quit, stay disciplined. And yes, that all sounds great. It sounds fantastic. But when you are living in the thick of it, sometimes just keep going feels like an insult because you're thinking in that moment with what energy, with what time, with what emotional bandwidth, with what support, with what strength. So I had to get honest with myself in that moment. And I want you to get honest with yourself too. Because honesty is where real change starts. I can't say that enough. The truth was not that I could not do it. The truth was not that I lacked ability, because that wasn't the case. The truth was not even that I lacked desire. The truth was that my approach could not survive the reality that I was living in. And that is a whole different conversation. Because a lot of the time, people think they have discipline problems, when in reality, they have a design problem. They built a routine that only works when life is light. That was me. They built a standard that only works when they feel good. They built a pace that only works when nothing goes wrong. And the second life gets real and shows up real hard, everything falls apart. That right there was the lesson. It was not me, it was the middle. It was the middle. So once I understood that, I stopped taking the struggle so personally. And that matters. Because when you make everything personal, you start attacking yourself instead of adjusting your strategy. Hear that again. You start attacking yourself instead of adjusting your strategy. You start saying things like, I'm the problem. I always do this. I never finish. I'm too inconsistent. I do not have what it takes. Nope, not true. Sometimes you are not the problem. Sometimes the plan is just too rigid. Sometimes the expectation is unrealistic. And sometimes you are demanding full capacity as far as your performance from a tired version of yourself. So I had to stop saying, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And I start asking, what does this season actually allow? What can I do consistently in real life? What can I do? What is sustainable? What can I carry without breaking? What can I build slowly and honestly? And that shift right there changed everything for me. Because once you stop fighting reality, you can finally work with it. And working with reality is a whole lot better than constantly losing yourself to fantasy. Let me break this down. Let me break it down. Every goal has three parts. Every goal has three parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. The beginning feels so good because it's new, it's fresh, right? It's clean, it's inspiring. It has not tested you in difficult ways yet. It has not exposed your habits yet. It has not challenged your patience yet. It has not made you confront your limits either. See, the beginning, it lets you imagine, explore, and your imagination is easy to fall in love with. I've realized that. Then there's the end. And the end feels good because you can see it. You're going to be able to touch those results. You can taste it in your mouth. You can almost touch everything about it. There is evidence now. The payoff is right there, right now. The proof is right there, right now. And there is a reason to celebrate right then and there. People love the end because the end lets you post about it. The end lets you announce it. The end lets you show exactly what happened. How did you get there? The end gives language to the process. But the middle, but the middle has no glamour to it. So no, you won't hear no pretty captions, no dramatic reveals, no guaranteed rewards, no instant confirmation that what you are doing is working right here in this middle. It's just work. Repeated work, quiet work, unseen work, boring work, frustrating work. Heck, there's even imperfect work. The middle is where enthusiasm has to become structure. And that is why so many people disappear right there in the middle. It's not because they're weak, because the middle, it demands a different kind of strength. The beginning needs that excitement. But the middle, it requires endurance. The end, it needs follow through. And look, if you're over 35, you are not just working on one thing. Let's be real, let's be honest, let's lay all our cards on the table right now. Literally, I have cards here. Let's lay them all on the table. You have responsibilities, you have bills. You may or may not have children, but you may have parents to care for. You may have a job that already drained you. You may have a body that does not bounce back the way it used to. You may have stress that no one sees. You may be healing from things while trying to function. You may be carrying emotional weight while still trying to show up for everybody, including you. So when something gets hard right here in the middle, your brain then begins to ask hard questions. Is this worth it? Should I be spending my time on this? Do I really have the capacity for all these things? Am I forcing something that's not? Can I afford this? Is this selfish? Am I being smart? Should I just let it go? And because you are grown, all those questions do not sound irrational. They don't. They actually sound practical. That is why quitting in the middle can feel so justified. Because you can build a very responsible case for why you should stop. You can say, I just have too much going on. Or I just need to focus on what matters most. Or I'll come back to it later. Now, it's just not the right time. I just need a break. And listen, sometimes a pause is wise. Sometimes that mindset reset is necessary. But a lot of times, what we call wisdom is actually discouragement wearing the maturest of outfits. Let me say that again for those in the back who didn't quite hear me. Sometimes what we call wisdom is discouragement wearing a mature outfit. It sounds responsible. It sounds calm. It sounds very logical. But underneath it all, you are not choosing from clarity. You are choosing from exhaustion. And that, my friend, is very different. See, when you choose from exhaustion long enough, you start building a life around what drains you instead of what matters most to you. So let me ask you something, because I'm never like that, because I actually care. How many things have you dropped right in the middle? Not because you could not do them, not because you were not smart enough, and it definitely wasn't because you didn't care, but because it just got too darn heavy. How many things have you dropped? How many ideas did you bury because they stopped being easy? How many goals did you abandon because your energies changed? It shifted. How many promises did you make to yourself and then slowly stop looking at them? How many versions of yourself are sitting in unfinished places right now as I speak today? This is where I need you to be gentle with yourself. because unfinished does not always mean fake. It doesn't. Sometimes unfinished means under supported. Sometimes unfinished means overcomplicated. Sometimes unfinished means emotionally overloaded. Sometimes unfinished means you were trying to perform at a level your life could not currently hold. And that, my friend, is not the same as failure. Some of you have been carrying failure language for what was really a strategy problem for so long, and you forgot that strategy really mattered. Because if your strategy only works in ideal conditions, that's not a real strategy. A real strategy has to work on ordinary days, messy days, busy days, low energy days, emotional days, days where you don't feel inspired, days where life interrupts you, days where you would rather just not. That is what makes it real. I'm going to go a little deeper here. I'm going to go a little deeper because I want to make sure everyone receives what I'm saying. A lot of people think they need motivation, but motivation is not always reliable. Motivation is what I call a visitor because it comes and it goes. Sometimes it hits you at 6 a.m., sometimes it disappears for 3 weeks. Sometimes that same motivation will show up after you watch something inspiring, but sometimes it can vanish the minute life gets inconvenient to you. So if your progress right now, here in the middle, depends on motivation, your progress is going to stay unstable. What you really need is a way to move that does not depend on feeling amazing at first. Because most of real life is not lived at your peak. Most of life is lived right here in the middle. That's where your method has to work, right here in the middle. That is why I stopped trying to feel so motivated every day. I stopped making motivation the requirement. I love it, but it's not the requirement. So I stopped saying I do it when I feel ready. I'm not saying that. I'll do it when I have more time. Nope, not saying that. I just keep moving. I keep pushing. I'll do it when I have more energy. Well, if I wait on that, who knows how long it'll be. I'll do it when the week calms down. When's it calm down? Because that future version of life, for most people, it never really arrives. There's always something. There's always another demand. There's always another reason to delay, delay, delay. So I had to learn how to move inside real life, not outside of it, in real life. And that's where everything changed. You see me daily. I'm on this live. I'm showing soaps. I'm showing bombs. I'm adding lip balm to the mix. You see this in real time. So I stopped trying to win by intensity and I changed how I show up. I just did. I stopped measuring success by how much I could force into one day. I did. I stopped measuring it. I stopped glorifying the all or nothing version. I stopped waiting for perfect conditions and I just gave myself one rule to follow. And I'm going to give it to you now. One simple rule, one small rule, a rule that works when I feel strong, and a rule that still works when I feel super tired. I want to give it to you. the same way I had to give it to myself. Because this is not deep in this fancy type of way. It's just deep and you can use it every day way. And the usable stuff is what actually changes lives. Note that. This is a rule that changed everything for me. When you do not feel like doing it, please, I encourage you to do half. That's it. That's the rule. Not all of it. It's not perfect. It's not the full version. It's not the ideal version, but it'll be half. Half the time, half the steps, half the effort, half the pressure, half the demand. Just half. Now, some people hear that and think, that sounds too small. But let me tell you, since this channel is built on lived experience and change, small is powerful when small is repeatable. Small is powerful when small is repeatable. See, a lot of people lose because they are too attached to dramatic efforts. They want the huge day, the perfect reset, the biggest of the biggest comebacks, the all day burst of productivity. They want it all. But what changes your life is not usually the dramatic days. It's the day you did something even when you didn't feel like it. Those ordinary days, those boring days, those low energy days, the emotionally cluttered day. That is a day that tells the truth about your system or the ecosystem that you're building. So let me break this rule down. So first, you're going to cut it in half. First, cut it in half. Whatever you are avoiding right now, cut it in half. I don't want you to overthink it. Do not negotiate with it for 45 minutes to an hour. Do not wait until you suddenly feel better about it. Just cut it in half. If it's an hour, make it 30 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, make it 15 minutes. If it has 10 steps, do 5. If it's a full workout, do half the workout. If it's cleaning the whole room, do one section. If it's writing 2,000 words, write 500. If it's building a whole website, finish one page. If it's organizing your finances, review one account. If it's making products, prep one batch. If you need to read 4 chapters, read 2 pages. Half. Because starting is the hardest part. Starting is the hardest part. And you've been past that. Not finishing, starting is the hardest part. And the mind makes starting feel heavier than it often is. Especially when you're already overwhelmed with all that life is offering at this moment. That's why we need to continue to turn those lemons to gems. When you're overwhelmed, the full version of the task feels like a threat. Your body feels it. Your mind resists it. Your emotions push back, and they push back hard. Then you call that procrastination. Sometimes it is procrastination, but sometimes it's just your nervous system rejecting the size of the task, meaning your chest is going to get tight, your jaws are getting tight. Shoot, some may even lose their hair. So you shrink it and shrink it until it becomes movable. That's the goal. There is power in making something feel possible again. Because the goal is not to impress yourself with all the ambition. It's not. The goal, the goal, the goal is to reconnect yourself to action. That is different. So when you shrink the task, guess what? Guess what? You lower the resistance. And when you lower the resistance, you create access. And when you create access, you are more likely to begin. So let me say it plain. You do not need the perfect plan as badly as you need a starting point that you can actually obey right now in real time. A lot of people have beautiful plans that they never follow. I would rather have an imperfect plan that matches my real capacity, or you can say your real capacity, than a perfect plan that keeps humiliating you. Because every time you make a promise to yourself and you do not follow through, you do, in fact, weaken trust with yourself. And it's not because you're a bad person, because your mind does, in fact, collect evidence. We say things and don't do them. We make plans we cannot hold. We create standards that collapse by Wednesday morning. That self trust matters. And cutting it in half helps rebuild trust with you. Second, I want you to count the win. Yep, count the win. Now, when you finish that half, this part's important too. You stop and you acknowledge it. Stop and acknowledge it. You say, I showed up. I did something. I moved. I did not quit today. I kept the door wide open. I honored the commitment at the level I could hold. And that matters more than people even realize. Mm-hmm. Truth. Because if you do not count the win, your brain will dismiss the effort. It will say, that was not enough. You should have done more. That, it barely counts. You're still behind. Why are you so proud of that? And right there, that's where momentum gets taken out. Because nothing drains a person faster than effort that never feels acknowledged. And look, I can see in the comments that some of you are exhausted, not only because you're doing a lot, but because nothing you do emotionally registers as enough. That is a miserable way to build. If every small win gets insulted, your mind will stop wanting to participate. Why would you keep showing up for a process that never lets you actually feel the progress? That's the question. So Miss T says, count the win. Not in a fake way, not in a delusional way, in an honest way. You did not do everything, but guess what? You did something. You moved. You kept the pattern alive. You interrupted avoidance. You proved the most important thing to me, that you're still in the game. And that matters. And some of you need to learn how to celebrate community as well, not just completion. Because completion is not the only thing worth honoring. Continuity matters too. Showing up, that matters as well. Re engaging matters too. Reducing avoidance, that matters too. And keeping your word in small ways definitely matters too. That is how confidence is rebuilt. Not through giant speeches, through repeated evidence. Step 3, stop or keep going. Now, this is the part people miss. They do. I don't know why, but some folks do. After you do half, you give yourself permission to stop. No guilt, no shame, no emotional punishment. No, since I started it already, I have to force a miracle. You know what? You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to stop. And that permission matters because when your brain believes a task is a trap, it resists the beginning anyway. But when your brain learns we are only doing a small piece and we're safe, your resistance goes down. Now, here's an interesting part about this. Most of the time, once you start, you will not want to stop. True story. Not always, but often. Because once you get moving, like once you start, it's easier to keep going. You're just going to keep going. Then it was enough to begin. So that means the fog will start lifting. The task feels less threatening. The momentum has fully kicked in. And your body, guess what? It adjusts and your mind will settle. And then suddenly you do a little more. And it's not because someone's sitting behind you, with a ruler, which I don't have one here, but I have my stapler with a ruler. It's forcing you to do it. You're doing it because now you can. And that is a huge difference. You move from pressure to willingness. And guess what? Willingness, it lasts longer. Now, I want to be clear. This is not a trick to manipulate yourself into overworking, because that's not the point at all. The point is to create a softer entry into consistency. Some days you will do half and stop. Cool. Some days you will do half and keep going. Also, cool. Either way, I call it a win. Why? Why are you asking me why? We've been here for a while now. But I'll tell you. Because the real victory is that you did not disappear. The real victory is that you did not let one hard day become a hard week, then a hard month, or then a hard year. You didn't. I see you. That is how people lose things. Not usually in one moment, in drift, small drift, quiet drift, repeated drift. This rule interrupts the drift. You get it? And for some of you, that is exactly what you need. Not a louder pep talk or speech, not another planner, please. Not another 5 a.m. successful people speech about you getting up earlier. You just need a method that respects the reality and will still keep you moving. That is what do have will do for you. It respects your humanity without surrendering your progress. That balance is everything. Trust is everything. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some examples so that you can really hone in on where you are going. So it's practical. Because some of y'all are listening and saying, okay, that sounds cool, but what does that actually look like in real life, in real time? I'm busy. I have 2 part-time jobs. So let's talk about it. If you're trying to work out and the full plan says 45 minutes, you're going to do 20 minutes. If you're trying to clean your house and your whole house is feeling overwhelming right now and you just need one clean surface, then you're going to do one surface and clean it. So you have that one clean surface. If you're trying to start a business and you're building the full thing and it feels too big, I want you to handle one task, whether it be the logo, the product photos, pricing, your bio, an email, a label, maybe fill out a vendor form. Just one thing. If you're trying to heal emotionally in real time and the full journey just feels so heavy, journal one page. Sit still for 5 minutes. Make one therapy appointment. Take one honest breath. Tell yourself one true thing. If you're trying to get your finances together, do not sit there and promise a 6-hour money reset. Start with one account, one bill, one list, one budget category, one phone call. If you are trying to write, maybe write one paragraph. If you're trying to read that one page. If you're trying to reconnect with God, pray one honest prayer. If you're trying to rebuild yourself, keep one promise to you today. Half. That is how you stop making growth feel impossible. Half. Because impossible is often just unbroken down. Let me say that slowly. Impossible is often just unbroken down. And some of you do not need less vision. You need smaller steps. Your dream is not too big. It's not. Your entry point is too big. And when your entry point is too big, you keep standing in the door, looking at everything that you have to do, getting emotionally tired before you even begin. So the goal is to shrink the doorway because I want to see you walk through. Then do it again tomorrow. I want you to think about that thing, whatever it is, from the beginning, that one unfinished thing. Now ask yourself, what would half look like? What does it look like? Not the full comeback, not the perfect plan, not the dramatic restart, just half. What would the half version look like this week? What would the half version look like tomorrow? What would the half version look like later on tonight? because that is the version you are most likely to do. The version you do will always, I mean, always outperform the version you fantasize about. See, some of y'all are loyal to fantasy and disconnected from execution. See, you love the image of being consistent. You love the thought of being disciplined. You love the idea of being finished. But the actual bridge between where you are and where you want to be is made of small, repeatable actions. Not vibes, not intention alone, not motivational quotes, not guilt, action. Smaller action, maybe. Slower action, maybe. Imperfect action, definitely. But action. So I'll say this clearly. I'll say it clearly. Some of you are not stuck. You're just downright overwhelmed. And that, my friend, is different. Because when you call overwhelmed stuck, you start trying to solve it the wrong way. You think you need more inspiration. You think you need a bigger push. You think you need somebody to light a fire under you and say, hey, get it done. But sometimes you don't need that fire. Sometimes you need a little relief. Sometimes you need a margin. Sometimes you need a gentler approach. Sometimes you need to stop trying to carry the full version of every darn thing. Because your life is already full. I've seen it. That is why you keep stopping, though. Seriously, that's why you keep stopping. It has nothing to do with you being inconsistent because your approach is just too heavy in this moment. So cut it in half. Cut it in half. You are trying to do the full version of everything, full productivity, full healing, full parenting, full amount of work, full relationships, full goals, full obligations, full emotional labor, full appearance or performance, either or. And there's just no room left for you to breathe in this space. So then you blame yourself for collapsing under all the weight that would crush almost anybody else that you even know. And that is not wisdom. That is self-neglect with ambition on top, just like a cherry on top of a pie or a milkshake. And I want better for you than that. I want you to learn how to build in a way that does not require you to abandon yourself. Because what is the point of becoming successful in all avenues if the path there keeps draining the life out of you? What's the point of it? What's the point of progress if every step you take makes you feel more ashamed, more behind, more disconnected from yourself? You do not need a method that only works when you are at 1,000%. You need a method that still works when you are at 40%, 30%, 10%. Heck, you might be at 1% because that's just real life. There will be seasons where you are not at your best. There's seasons where you may be grieving. There's seasons when you may feel stretched. Seasons where you are rebuilding. Seasons where you are tired in ways that sleep itself cannot fix. But you still deserve a path forward in those seasons. And that is exactly what this is. This is your path forward. Maybe it's not flashy or with B roll. Maybe it's not dramatic. Maybe it's not even social media cute. Cool. But guess what? It's real. And you know what works? Real. Real works. True story. See, everything I have now did not come from motivation. Some of it came from me being in dark spaces, but it also came from me showing up even when I did not feel like it. That's how this started. Not perfect batches of soap, not perfect batches of bomb, not perfect timing, not perfect energy, not some magical season where life got so easy that I was just screaming from the rooftops. It came from consistency and smaller pieces. I cut it in half. That is how I kept learning. That is how I kept improving. That is how I kept building. Right now, right here in the middle. Even with my soaps, even with my bombs. I'm talking everything I create from this content to other ventures that I have. It's not about hype. It's not. It came from me actually doing half and then doing a little more. It came from me respecting the process enough to keep every door open. So, yes, if you want support, if you want to try what I make, if you want to check it out, the links are there. But honestly, I have to tell you something. Honestly, more important than any of that, I want you to build something for yourself. I want you to stop burying your own ideas because the middle is hard. I want you to stop assuming that difficulty means no. I want you to stop measuring your future by your most overwhelmed moments. You still have something in you. I see it. You still have something worth building. You still have something worth returning to day in and day out. So let's bring this back for a sec. That thing that you dropped in the comments earlier that you thought about in the beginning, the one you started and you didn't finish, you don't need a restart for your whole life. You just don't. You don't. You don't need to become a different person overnight. You don't need to be perfect on Mondays. You don't need this new 10-step master plan. You just need to take half a step. That's it. That's all. Half a step. Then another. Then another. That is how things actually get finished in real time, right here in the middle. It's not always fast. It's not always pretty. It's not always in a straight line. Sometimes you might got a zigzag. Oh, I'm just saying. But guess what? That's how you get finished. And more importantly, that is how trust is built back up in you. Trust for yourself. one kept promise at a time. So this week, do not ask yourself, how do I change everything? Because that's just a big task. It's too great of a venture at one time. But ask yourself, what is my half step? What's my half step? And then I want you to take it. Now, what are you committing to finishing this week? You can drop that in the comments right now, or you could come back later. Either way, I just want you to make it real. My name is Shatika Miles, and this is Who CTV, and I will see you in the next one.